Hey everyone, Trovarsi here. Welcome to Faders Up with Trovarsi, and I'm your host, Trovarsi. I saw people are already getting chatty in the chat. Welcome. I saw a lot of new names out there. Welcome to Faders Up. This is a show where we have some live artists on where we play a performance. We talk about their setup, their inspirations, why they pick the gear that they pick, and why they choose to perform live, all that good stuff. And tonight is a very special guest. He is like a brother to me. I am so excited to have him on the show. He is a synthesized, a synthesist, a synth nerd, actually, a big old synth nerd. He's a filmmaker. He's also the founder of Modular World. Some of you have listened to also his Dot Wave podcast, where he's interviewed a lot of influential people in our world, our synth fam world. And without further ado, it's Johno Wells. Johno, welcome.
I'm like a brother to you. That just like gets me right here because you're like a sister to me, man.
Yes.
I started to choke up a little bit when you said that.
You're gonna bring on the tears. Oh.
Well, I mean, you and I have been lockstep this past year, doing so much stuff. I'm just so happy to sit here with you and chat.
This is fantastic. I've been waiting for this, so I'm so glad to finally get you on here. And yeah,
thanks, man.
I have a lot of questions, and but first I want to play your performance.
Okay.
So let's play your performance, and then we'll get into all the good stuff right after that too.
Okay.
All right. So without further ado, everyone, this is a performance by Johno Wells. Johno.
Sounds like the video stopped.
Yeah. I have no idea what. Totally.
Well, we talked about this earlier that like you and I have been through so much like with these live streams. I just don't even care anymore. It's like it's all
I don't
good.
even like. Normally, I could have an answer for you of actually like, oh, the internet's bad or something. But in the video, my apologies.
It's fine. I mean, we talked about this before. It's like, man, there's not a lot that would like, I don't know. I get it.
I think
get
you
it.
misspoke when we were talking. You're like, I don't think I've had to deal with anything that stumped me yet. Well, I think it just happened to both of us right now.
No, it doesn't stump me.
I'm like,
You and I have seen it all, man. We have seen it all.
well, I will tell everybody this, and you as well, that we will put this video up as it's going to be available to watch just the performance itself on the YouTube channel tomorrow morning. So if anyone out there, you want to go back and watch the performance and see the last 2 minutes. My apologies.
Were we that close, really?
I'm sorry?
We were that close, really?
Yeah, it was 2 minutes out.
So let me tell you how it sounded. It sounds very similar for another 2 minutes, and then it fades out. I mean, what are you going to do, right? You know what? I was really liking also those little video glitches that were coming through.
Yeah, I wasn't.
Those look kind of rad.
At first, I thought maybe it was the internet or whatever, but no, everything is solid.
Dude, I was like, those look kind of cool. I should do that more.
Like what's his name? The Mad Max, the head or whatever. The
Max Headroom.
Max Headroom. Yep.
Mad Max Headroom. Totally different Maxes.
Yes. Sorry. Something with Max. Anyway, why don't you tell us first, what are you using in the case? Why don't you tell us? Let's start there.
Okay. I had built out that 7U for something, and this is what it was. So it sounded like a steady diet of Air Instruments little disasters. And the percussion stuff was coming for sure from Bitbox Micro. That was that first part. Oh, okay. And Benjamin is running the party. And effects. Oh, no. There was R-Bar in there too, doing something. And then effects. I don't think I had Mimiophone in that. I'd have to ask Nick. I'm sure he would see that. But there was definitely FX Aid at the end. No, there was Mimiophone in there too. Yeah. How's that for a somewhat worthless answer?
Well, I saw you were using the Air Instruments, the one with, is it like cloud
busting? I actually was not using there.
No? Okay.
It was there though. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was there, and it was one of those situations where I put it in there, and as I'm building it out, I just didn't end up using it.
What was the sound that like a clanging mallet?
Oh God, I have no idea. I'm so sorry.
No,
I mean, they're all just like, all of those Air Instruments modules are just like disaster train wrecks. So you can steer them into places that you'll never be again. It's just little weird little combos and accidents. And then just in kind of morphogene like mentality, it's kind of like just kind of following little grains and problems that develop, and just kind of just like uncharted territories kind of things, like, oh, guess we're going that way now, and those modules work like that. So it's just kind of going into it with a mentality of it's all a disaster, so it's gonna work out. It's just kind of steering it around to all these little places that end up presenting themselves, because you couldn't possibly sequence that or plan that, nor do I want to. So It's just sort of you set up a whole bunch of problems and then just kind of see what happens.
So let's talk about that actually for a moment, because I know that, you and I talk a lot about like sequencers, not using sequencers, and I know you've kind of been traveling in this new territory of moving away from the traditional sequencer.
Yeah.
You want to tell us a little? What was your last sequencer that you no longer are using? How about that?
The last sequencer I had, which was my longest dance with it. Well, no, I was longest with with Fluxus. But the last sequencer, which I had and sold, was the Nerdsec,
Mm.
and just super powerful, modulation powerhouse machine, tracker.
Mm.
And I was the last person who should have gotten that. But it was such an interesting kind of almost like platform. It's funny even to call something like that like a module,
Mm.
sort of like the ER301. It's more of like a experience. But I just, um, if I go back to like the way I've always made music in like computer too, like in Cubase, that's my DAW of choice.
Mhm.
I never made sequences in that. I would find some VST I really liked. I'd press record and I would just kind of hammer in a bunch of stuff for 20, 30 minutes of just MIDI notes and then just go back and kind of edit it and massage it. So when I got into Eurorack, I kind of forgot that that's how I worked because we're all trying to figure it out. So it's like you got to find the right sequencer. So I start with this one, kind of fight the whole patterns and sequences kind of mentality. Well, I just haven't found the right sequencer yet, so let's try this one, and then same thing. So with the Nerdsec, I finally just realized that like I'm just not here to make patterns and sequences. I like small, sequencers a lot. But the master sequence, master sequencer, it's just not the way I've ever worked.
In the tracker, it's more like glitchy, which tends to be in a area you like to sit in with drums and things like that. But still, it was
Well,
you more
still, I
the
mean,
instrumentation.
well, still, like even with a tracker, you're dealing with how many patterns have you made, and I'm going to stay here for a while, and then I'm going to go to the next pattern that I, previously sat down and came up with an idea of how this might work. Now I'm going to have a pattern which does this, and then maybe I'll do this, and I tap that out and I build it in a sequencer. That's just, I stopped fighting that. It just was not the way that I could compose and have fun doing it. I felt like I'm just kind of, showing up and pressing play and watching all my sequences happen. And then kind of maybe there's some improv in between, but I'm basically choosing when I'm going to play you this next sequence that I've previously thought of. And I can't think like that. It's just not the way my brain works.
So then what are you like? How are you sequencing? Are you using like a bunch of like clock dividers or?
Well, I mean, Benjamin,
Benjamin.
yeah, Benjamin is the secret sauce. And this is, something we should talk about too, that I think I'm kind of maybe ending. Well, we can get there, but so yeah, Benjamin, with the Morcom Turing machine adapter, that's the whole game. So it's like a chaotic clock divider that's coming off the Rungler circuit on the Benjamin, which is this chaotic circuit. And in Turing machine style, you can have it, 12 o'clock. So it's letting in all the wacky pulses, and then you can just quickly dial it to, clockwise or counterclockwise. And then you grab a little loop. So that's where people will like recognize like, oh, that was a transition to a pattern, but it really wasn't. I'm just kind of grabbing a little moment, kind of going fishing, seeing what's there. That's decent. I'll camp here for a little bit. Or it's crappy and I just dial quickly back to noon and let it all through. So that's driving all the percussion and a lot of the other triggers and pulses.
Very cool. And then, so I saw you had the Bitbox Micro.
Yeah.
And do you sample into it as you're playing? Like,
I haven't.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't. The way that I like Micro, I think it's a pretty wacky, kind of funky operating system and kind of a silly sampler, like compared to like, like a simulator, which I love. But I don't have space for a simulator in 7U, so I kind of use the Micro as kind of like a utility sampler, maybe.
Okay.
But one thing I really like Micro for is its ability to drop in a wave file and have it scan all the transients of a wave and then put little slice markers there. And then you can hit those things randomly. So take any wacky bunch of anything and drop it in there, have it scan it. And then you can just ping the shit out of that thing and have it hit all those different slice markers randomly or in succession, or all the typical ways you could hit.
Got it. So
And that's a
similar.
good one
Nice.
for percussion.
So similar, like I know you and I, we've talked about the assimilator and using the zones and using that as a way to kind of juggle.
Similar workflow. Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
Except the beauty of Bitbox Micro is that I don't have to cut it into actual samples, actual hits, and bring them in like I would with a simulator, where now I create my zones, with all my separate little wave files. This is like a non-destructive transient scan. And then it just puts these, markers there, and you can add them and delete them and add more, or turn threshold up and have it scan like every single micro sound.
I haven't done that yet. I need to try that.
It's so easy. It's brilliant. I mean, you could make, you could take your like Zoom recorder, like around your house and just record a bunch of clangs and sounds and a bunch of space in between, a bunch of messy garbage. And then drop it in there and it would find all the transients. And then again, just ping that super good. And it's like the best percussion, it's really easy.
Nice. I just want to remind everyone in the chat again, thank you for being here. My guest tonight is Johno Wells, for those of you who do not know who he is. And if you have questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat.
Somebody did ask one that I want to try to grab.
Nick wanted to know how your mind works.
Nick, you know what? I'll tell you that Nick.
Don't forget to like and subscribe too.
Nick, Dub Station Zero. Nick is like a large part of my mind. He's a local San Diego genius, and this guy, man, he's got just such a mind that we have these conversations that like I can't even think after I walk away. He's like filled me with so many ideas and concepts for routing logic and using modules in ways that I've never thought of. This guy's a rocket scientist right there.
Yes, I've met. Well, I know I know Dub Station Zero Nick as well, and we've gotten together, and I do like his patching style. It's like a combination of the things that we're talking about, the two of us, I think, in the sense of he working with patterns and then being able to kind of switch into this sort of chaotic, non-sequenced place and be able to jump back and forth.
Right.
Yeah, just really great patching techniques.
It was Detroit Bureau of Sound, but we kind of answered that question with the randomized timing. It's just, it's just Benjamin. But see, here's the thing, with the Benjamin is that the Rungler filter, which is powering that Turing machine breakout for all the pulses, that's clocked by oscillator 2, right? This thing is complete madness. It's awesome. So if you take oscillator 2, which is clocking that output, you slow it down a little bit, like the whole patch follows, and dealing with a sequencer, I would be more aware of patterns and BPM and all that. And this is just like, I have no idea what's going on, but I'm just taking oscillator 2 and just dumping it a little bit. The whole thing follows. So that's where like the randomized timing happens, is that part isn't randomized. I'm kind of choosing when to like dive it down or bring it back up.
Nice. So do you feel like when you're performing, because of all the randomization and not really having like a sequence pattern to kind of fall back on, that you're adding extra plates to kind of juggle? You know what I mean? Like you're kind of turning knobs and making sure that if you grab the certain loop, and which I think sounds fun.
I mean, like to me, I think it's actually quite a bit easier, because when I was trying to fight writing patterns and sequences, I got like to the point where I had so many moves that I had like rehearsed and had ready that I was, number one, I was rushing because I was like, can't forget to do this. Or sometimes I would have my little cheat sheet list next to the rack. Don't forget this little trick up your sleeve. Have I been here too long? Have I camped on this pattern for too long? Is this boring? Should I move forward? Ooh, I can't forget this cool move. And it like took my head totally out of all the plates I was spinning. Whereas now, again, it's like it's all such a disaster that I can kind of just like relax with it, and like have fun with
Right,
it.
right.
I'm like, oh, a little too much. That's kind of funny. Let's move away. So it's all just kind of, it's presenting itself in a whole different way. I'm not stressed about it at all. I'm like running into the dark kind of.
Got you. Do you feel that that's kind of plays well with the types of genres of music that you are interested in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, even with stuff that um, like, stuff that's not percussion based, like real drippy, greasy ambient stuff that I also like doing. Same thing. Like you can't sequence all that. Or I mean you could, but it's not going to be as fun to chase all the little moments and parts. I'd rather just kind of relax and just let it kind of be.
Right. Let it
Like
do.
I don't, yeah.
Mm.
It's just not as fun for me personally to, rehearse a bunch of moves and patterns and sequences and then show up and like regurgitate it for you.
Mm.
I'm not putting any shade on people who work like that. I understand that most people work like that. You work like that. Like I get it. But yeah, it's just not as fun for me.
Loosely, but yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
like you build something and you know where it's going.
right.
You
I try to know where it's going.
Wow. Nobody does it as well as you, man. Talk about plate spinning. Jesus.
But so okay, so let's, as I bring up like genres of music, can we kind of, I kind of want to dive into that a little bit. Like let's talk about your musical background. Like
Okay.
I want to, you want to kind of,
Let's just put a pin on these two questions that have showed up. One was, do I enjoy working in a bigger or large or small system?
oh, mhm.
And then the other one is do you want to just do these
Yeah,
now really
let's
quick?
answer. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
I
Okay.
didn't do that. Okay. Thank you, Will.
So this is total workflow stuff, sleep of eons. What's up, man? Yeah. So large system, I kind of it's more like a ADHD sort of patching experience where I'm kind of trying everything, new techniques, problems, new modules. It's kind of like a testing ground. But I'm not gonna build a big something out in it because Chantal's here. What's up, my sister? Jack, Black Moth.
What's up?
Sorry. Um, so the way that I really like to work is in 7U or smaller. So I'll kind of use this like a library. Like I'll build little cases out for this patch or for something else where I kind of want to, I've been neglecting you. I've got to have you. Let's try you. And I'll kind of build a little system out.
Mm-hmm.
And then I leave this room where I spend my whole life in these like 6 square feet. And I go down to the kitchen table and it's like focus case. Focus system for I'll often sit on a little 7U build for like a month, and I'll maybe swap a few things out here and there, but I'm just like completely focused and deep diving on this. Now I don't have 30 modulation sources. I've picked these 2 or 3, so I've got to bend these things in ways that I usually don't. And that's like, it's so healthy for me to just, the kids are in bed. Now I'm down at the kitchen table in a totally wacky, weird space. I don't have everything at my disposal.
Focus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. It is, I have the same feeling when I approach our big case. It's like ADHD comes in. I'm like, oh, patch this, patch that. And
right.
I feel like in that space, I'm not utilizing each thing to its fullest potential versus being able to.
Yeah.
Do you find
and it's fun to, make a big crazy patch and use all of your cables and proudly look at your big, mess. And I love that, but I can't like actually, like complete something or feel good about like being in another place and letting it ride. I'm just like too,
Right. Yeah. There's actually one other thank you. That was Slim Pickens. Thank you. Welcome.
Dude, your producer is just on it.
I know, she's on top of it, Willow.
She's killing it.
You. So
music genre challenged. Yeah, I would say it's noise garbage.
I wouldn't call it that. But
would you consider your work improvisation? I mean, sure, this is totally improv, right? So it's you know, I mean, this piece that we just played, you know, here is like a little further toward like experimental than I would usually be at. I'd like to usually have a little bit more organized percussion and kind of be maybe more in the IDM dark ambient kind of area. If we need to put like labels on it, that's fine. But this one was a little further. You know,
It's
that's
good
just how it came, you know.
to
If you were a
find
module, what module would you be? I'd be Loquelic Iteritas.
Would you? Yeah, I could see that. That or that Cloud Buster.
I mean, Loquelic is still my favorite voice. My God. It's just so beautiful. There's so much you can do with it.
It is very cool.
Right.
I like noise engineering modules for sure.
Triple Sloth. Yeah, absolutely. Nonlinear circuits, man. Oh, what little disasters.
Yeah, thank you for turning me on to that one. It helped in my ambient patch that I had to
Triple
do.
Sloth?
Yeah.
Isn't it just a riot?
Yeah.
My God. It's just a riot. It's like, you know, people think that like, you know, like Oct is the end all for like, you know, 8 awesome slow LFOs, right?
Yeah.
Or, you know, various, you know, phases of LFO, right? And Oct is great. I have Oct. I love it. But Triple Sloths is like super Oct.
Yes, it is. That's a good way to put it. Super Oct. Yeah, you just don't know, and it just then hangs on. It seems like, is it gonna cycle or what?
Yes.
Finally, all of a sudden, it just sneaks up on you.
Yes, exactly. You have three chaotic circuits, and then all of a sudden your whole patch changes.
Yes. Yep.
Brilliant.
Vote for the Triple Sloth. That's awesome.
Short of artists and audio, nothing like noise garbage. I don't know. It's, you know, whatever.
Hey, Electronic Sounds Audio. All right, so let's talk about your musical history.
Sure. Yeah, sure. So classically trained piano as a kid.
Okay.
For not more than 6 years, maybe. And then right into bands, guitar and keyboards. Got the Korg Poly 6 as a kid with paper out money. Then punk bands where, you know, synths aren't so cool, sold that, all, you know, all guitar through late teens and 20s out here.
Right.
What's up?
Speaking of that.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I had to do it.
Good job. Okay, so I had just moved out here from Michigan, and I'm living in Riverside, playing at the barn at UCR. That's the barn, BA in the back. So this is on campus at University of California, Riverside.
Nice.
And that's the Strat that I bought from selling my Korg Poly 6.
Nice.
Yeah, that's in a band called Paranoid Pam.
Yes.
This is like circa 90, maybe 91.
Okay. And you were in that band for quite a few years, right?
Yeah. I started that band with the bass player, my dear friend, brother, in 89 or 88. And we did that through 95.
Okay. And I have one more to share.
Bring it. Oh yeah. So the guy in the front with the funny mouth, that's Billy, who I founded that band with. He's the bass player. To my right is Steph, who I ended up marrying, still married, 25 years.
Yeah, I saw this picture. I was like, oh, I have to pull this one up.
Paranoid Pam, man. Yeah, this is 90. This has to be like 93, 94.
Okay.
Yeah. Great times. Riverside, man. Yeah. So, you know, 90s alternative punk rock, you know, it would have been in those genres. So awesome surprises, man. That was great. Those were not planned.
No.
Oh, Gerald Fjord. He says, I'm so glad I got here.
What did he say? Oh, he got here just in time for the
fuck.
Well,
Yeah.
like that's the thing. Like this is part of your history, and I
Oh
know that
yeah.
you and I have talked about this. And like you were in that band, and you've played at some pretty fun places around. You toured,
Mm.
and I'm sure it was like a major influence on even your
So
music today,
fun. So
right?
fun. Yeah, I mean, we had our
Yeah.
minute.
Mhm.
Super fun. We toured with Firehose. Recorded all, and played all around LA and Orange County, and so fun.
Nice.
Yeah, so the thing that ended that though was like 95, 96, 97 was the start of IDM, right? So
Mhm.
Warp Records happened,
Okay.
and Schematic, Chocolate Industries. So I start hearing things like Autechre and Aphex Twin and Boards of Canada and stuff like that, and
Right.
I just did not want to. I just didn't want to play guitar anymore,
Right. It's
So
all
yeah,
about
built.
going back to synths.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's strange. It was just kind of waiting for me. Um, Electronic Sounds knows Firehose. That's amazing. Yeah, man. Mike Watt. We toured with them. We knew them really well. They're just gentlemen, great guys. Okay,
Do you guys ever
so
get together? One more question about
yeah,
Paranoid
fine,
Cam. I have to.
fine,
You guys
fine.
ever get together and jam ever, or no? Or
Oh yeah, no, those are my I mean, like best friends still. So Billy, bass player, lives here in San Diego, tattoo artist. That's why the tattoos.
very cool.
Um yeah, drummer lives up in Temecula, singer, married. Um
Mhm.
Guitarist is now living in Beijing. So we don't see Andy much, but I mean, friends on Facebook, talk all the time. But we don't jam.
No, just hang out.
No,
Well,
not
that's all
interested. That ship sailed. It's kind of like, we've done it for so many years, and it's kind of like
right.
dragging shit out to clubs late at night and leaving at 2 a.m. with no money and amps and loud in ears. I'm just kind of over it.
I've had my share of that sort of stuff too, so I
I
get
know
it.
you have. Some of it's awesome, and some of it's like, I'm good, man.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, amps are heavy. I feel,
Man,
okay, so
thank you
back.
for being a good sport about that.
Oh, it's great. No, I'm really proud of those years, and they were just, I just moved out here from Michigan, so I'm like, 20s trying to like, find my way and start a band, and I mean those were just like absolute like glory days sort of
Mm,
stuff. So they were great.
very cool.
Paranoid Pam is not on Bandcamp, but
Sounds
it
SoundCloud.
is on SoundCloud. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. It's all there. Yeah. And it's, I think it's dated in kind of a 90s alternative punk,
Mm,
but it's still good. I mean, I'm not embarrassed of them, or I wouldn't have put them
mm.
up there. Like it's not terrible. It's pretty good.
It's good stuff. I went through and
It's
listened
pretty
to
good.
different things. Yeah.
Yeah, sort of. In a I'm not embarrassed way. It's, it's okay.
Hey,
Um
that's
okay,
awesome.
back to
So your musical journey, did I throw you off there?
no, no, no.
Oh,
It's late 90s and discovering, this IDM sound that was just like I'd never heard anything like Autechre, right? I was into
mhm,
like guitar, so like, Jane's Addiction and,
mhm.
My Bloody Valentine and, like thick stuff, Soundgarden,
Right, right.
like total 180 to like the brittle perfection of Autechre,
Yeah. No,
Um,
I dug Soundgarden myself at some point too. So
yeah, stuff was
yep,
just
yep.
gold. Anyway, so late 90s build, MIDI studio being controlled by early versions of Cubase or Cubasis,
Mm, mhm,
Cakewalk, all those. And then for like, up until like 4 years ago,
mm.
just software synths and samplers, VSTs and Cubase. Just love working like that, you know.
So how much so when you mention that like a DAW, and I know playing with your modular, your systems, have you thought about ever doing any kind of hybrid setup? And if you when you do use the DAW, how do you use it
Okay.
right now with your music
Yeah.
today?
Hybrid setups, I tried. I had Mutant Brain,
Mm-hmm.
and I tried to sync Cubase with the modular, thinking I could do that, and it worked. Um, I didn't love the latency, and I didn't love the workflow. So the way that I use Cubase and VSTs now is to create things to fly into samplers. I was on your Gear Dive Jam for the Morphogene,
Yes.
and man, that's like one of my favorite workflows, is to create something with synths and pads and bring stuff into Morphogene. Somebody asked what my favorite VST is. Man, I gotta say it's Reactor. Native Instruments Reactor. I got that when it first came out, early 2000s, and I saw the user community grow with it and make all their wacky ensembles and patches for it. Well, this was before Blocks by like 15 years.
Have you used Blocks now?
I'm sorry. No, I haven't.
Modular or no? Okay.
No. And you think I would have, right? Because I could like build stuff in it, but man, the synths and wacky stuff that people have made for Reactor is just like, I love Reactor. Love it.
I agree with you.
It's there's nothing like it. But then, real popular ones that I've really liked too are like, Atmosphere that turned into Omnisphere. Great stuff from Spectrasonics. Just so useful, and just like 10,000 patches in it, and they're all like really good.
Have you updated to the new Omnisphere? Or?
I have, yeah. And also, man, I really like what Arturia did, with the V7 collection.
Oh yeah, for sure.
This is the only way that normal people can play like every classic synth in the world.
Right.
And like, does it sound as good as the original or digital versus analog? I don't care, man.
Right.
I don't care. I'm just gonna sample it or use it or cut it up and bring it into something anyway. Who cares?
I know Todd is in the chat. Have you played with the Buchla?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But, and I think Todd and I even talked about that, and I'm sure he would agree that, like, having a moment with something to make some sound with it and to have an experience is beautiful. And does it need to be like compared with the actual like music easel? Like,
right.
No, it's going to be nothing like the physical experience of touching that and working with it. I get that, but it still is
pretty good. It still
sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Those are really great. And also they render really nicely on screen. So they're big and they look great. And like, you feel like you're kind of getting your CS80 on or whatever. Right. It's a beautiful thing.
Yes. Yep. And the best part is you can make those presets and save them and go back to them. So
right.
Oh man. So I mean, I know that you've been releasing albums, not only self-released but also on Errorgrid. Do you want to kind of talk about your release with Errorgrid? And
sure.
Yeah, just
so Olivier started Errorgrid basically like a year ago. Like, it was in April or May or something. I mean, it's been like about a year.
Oh wow.
And
around much longer. I mean, just his delivery. I mean,
I know.
Package, everything looks
just fierce. Yeah. So he's we've now backed down a little bit to like one a month. But he was doing like one every 2 weeks, and there's like 11 of us, I think, on the label, or 10 or 11. And man, they've just like, he's been just pumping out such gold. And so I was the 5th one out the gate with a Just Index EP. And then, let everybody else, kind of queue out. And for those 9-10 months, I think I pushed out like 6 releases, like independently. And then I just put out another one on Errorgrid called Gotham Child.
Yes.
And yeah, it's 5 tracks, and it's my first kind of, baby's first concept album, which I had never done. I always thought that concept albums were kind of cool for other people to do, but I didn't compose like that or write like that. But this one came out like that, and
some of that was from your trip when you went on your trip, correct? Or
no, that's the most recent self-released one where it was all like the various like remote performances.
That's right. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
There's too much shit coming out. That's the problem. No, Gotham Child was all, kitchen table 7U situation.
Gotcha.
The one that you're talking about is a compilation of a bunch of remote performances that I've done starting in like January, where I got the little battery pack thing for Christmas. And I started taking the 7U out to the beach, to the hills, to the here, to the there, and shooting all these remote ones. Yeah.
So let me ask you this, actually, now that you brought that up, shooting, being a filmmaker, does the music influence the way your films look, or is it the other way around, do you feel?
Well, I mean, honestly, and I don't mind saying this, my work life is dead. So I'm not doing anything creatively in film right now. I mean, the work stuff I've done for the past like 5 years has been corporate and promo, like marketing videos, like corporate, like corporate video. So there's no place for cool music in it, it just doesn't work. But before that, when my, film life was, more active, like, like before kids, I was doing, more creative, like real, like from the heart sort of film stuff where it was great to score it and to have fun, like complementing both things, like coming up with ideas for camera that I knew I could score well, or oppositely, but cool soundtrack for corporate stuff just doesn't happen, which is fine,
Right.
Yeah, I'll be curious how that comes back, if I've even got another short or feature in me. I don't feel like I do. I'm good, I like did that for a while and put out a lot of stuff, and I'm kind of good. I kind of got over it maybe a little bit.
Gotcha.
So now cameras and video work can be used for video production and just real kind of meat and potatoes, getting it done sort of stuff.
Got it.
Maybe.
But it still shows when you do these works, like when you're shooting, like the video we just played tonight, and how the music kind of complements the
thanks.
scene and it's
Thanks.
very cinematic. I think I said that when I first listened to some of your music, like a year and a half ago, when we first really started talking and sharing, and that was the first thing that came to my mind is
thanks.
Of like scoring or things like that.
Well, I mean, scoring like experimental film is just like an absolute pleasure, it's really easy, and just like the music, I mean, you could take it anywhere,
Right.
I don't know how I would do with scoring something serious where I actually had to follow cues and like make something really coherent. That'd be I would probably go back to software.
Oh, okay.
Like where I could open it, and you would say like, we need an edit on Q10. When the door opens, we need it to be less this or more that.
Right.
You can't do that in modular.
Track.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
But. Okay. I just want to check in with everyone in the chat.
I want to do that too, because I know there's been questions.
Yeah, make sure we don't miss. Oh, let's see. What has driven you to be able to finish so much music?
Oh, what a great question.
You're working on it. Yeah, that is a really good question.
Yeah, I do not suffer from analysis paralysis at all. At all. And, I know that you could err on the other side of that and do quantity versus quality, but I make a lot of stuff, just experiments and noodling at night that I do not release. So I would say that I don't I don't obsess about mixing, and I think that you could go crazy and overanalyze all this stuff.
Mm.
Like the performance we just saw, like oh, that was too loud, oh, that little moment there, oh, that bothers me. Like none of it bothered me.
Mm.
And it's not that I think it's all awesome either, but it just doesn't bother me. That's part of the beauty of the stumbling in the dark, or more like running into the dark sort of approach to the whole thing, is like,
Right.
like when I curated for the last release with all the like remote performances.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's 2 that I didn't include. It could have been 8 tracks, and I think I just chose 6. Just because maybe I didn't feel they were, I didn't maybe show up as genuine and open and kind of ready, and I could kind of feel it in myself, like listening to it. But the others I thought were just fine, because I knew that I showed up open, and what happened was genuine, and I kind of rolled with it. One of
Right.
them is like an hour long, right? So
Mm.
like, you know, would I like go through it and be like, I can't release the whole hour long. That's crazy. I got to choose the best 10 minutes or something.
Mm.
But, same thing. I'm like, no, the whole thing is kind of a statement, and came out. I don't know what the statement is, just by the way, but like the whole thing came out as it was, and it deserves to be itself. I don't think there's a reason to overanalyze that and find the best 10 minutes because the rest of it sucks. You know?
Right.
Maybe it took a little while to get off the ground and become something. Maybe it comes into its own like 12 or 15 minutes in. you
Mm.
know Not everybody's going to listen to that doesn't bother me.
Right.
Somebody will, or I will.
It's about like being just happy with yourself and your music, and that's
Yeah, I mean, if you know
true.
that you're right. I mean,
Yeah.
like if you know that your expression is genuine, then
Hmm.
I think it should be pretty easy to, it's like film editing. It's like killing off your children. I'm looking at all these shots that I'm just in love with, and I can't let this go. And my wife will come in and be like, I've already seen that angle. Like you don't need to show it twice. I'm like, oh, but the way that it's so, it's like you get better at doing that over time,
Right.
where it's like, I do already have that shot. I don't need it. So yeah,
Mm.
I don't obsess about stuff that I've recorded to 2-track that's not even multi-tracked. There was an improv to begin with. Like, why would I like disrespect that expression by getting into nitpicking it now?
Right. Right. And I do want to answer the question Igor has, but I do want to come back to the recording. But
Mhm.
what is your most recent record that? What's the most recent record that blew your mind?
Man, all that I listen to these days, and I mean all that I listen to, unless my daughters are playing Spotify or talking to Alexa or something, is Bandcamp.
Oh. Hmm.
That's just all I listen to. So, God, there's so many. I would say that the most recent Honkind chess team release. So this is Mudlogger. You might know him, Mudlogger, Jason. Um, oh, I'm so sorry, Jason. I can't think of your last name. He lives in Thailand, but he's on Instagram as Mudlogger,
Okay. Okay.
and he's also released as Mudlogger. But he's really adept with all the Siat Lombard stuff,
Oh, okay.
and some of that stuff is not my jam. But the way that he does it is so just delicate, and just a lot of patience and space, and I love what he does. And he
Mm.
has a new one that came out like 10 days ago. Um, and I could let me just type that in here so that people could get it right.
Sure.
It's
Drop it in our,
Hone
and then we'll drop it in the chat. We'll drop it in
Pine
private, and then you can.
Chess Team. Yeah, that's just amazing. And also the most recent one that Mandy Bakker did, Jungle of Wires, our
Oh
sister
yeah.
in the
Yeah.
Netherlands.
Uh-huh.
Her most recent one too is just so good.
Oh, you dropped it in the regular chat. I thought you were looking up a link. My
No,
apologies.
no, I just
No,
I
no, it's
just
all good.
typed it
It's all
in.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Jungle of Wires.
Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah, both of their new ones are just so, so good.
So,
Um,
like with your recording, then back to the recording.
sure.
So is it always 2 track?
No, it's just where I'm at right now.
Okay.
I have 32 in here, and when I'm multi-tracking and really like going balls on that, I might use like 12.
Mm.
But honestly, man, I don't want to have a great improv and a great time and then have to go in and mix and master 12 tracks.
Mm.
So, I'd hate to admit, because that sounds kind of lazy, but um I'd hate to admit that it wasn't, just because I don't think it deserves it or whatever, but there
Mm.
is something to the same kind of modular mentality that when you're done, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to plug this out and it's never going to happen again. All the stuff that we talk about, blah, blah, blah. So I think it's kind of nice to have a 2-track and learn how to mix in rack.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, there can be some mistakes. There can be some things that are a little too loud and a little too something. So learn to do it better,
I have to
Um,
agree with you. I've been doing a lot of true 2-track recording lately. In fact, I think the last handful of tracks I've let out, released have been 2-track.
yeah, it's really
Yeah,
freeing.
it's something.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you get in the box, you can really start to slice and nitpick and all this kind of
Right.
stuff. And
Right. Let it be
yeah,
done. Yeah.
yeah.
I think that everything I've released like for the past year has been 2-track,
Okay.
with no mixing afterwards because it was a suicide mix. It's done. It's burned to 2 channels. We're done.
Mm-hmm.
Master it, call it done. One thing I do just to help with mastering is just to record really low. So I know I've got a lot of headroom. So
Mm.
on the H4n, the little Zoom recorder, which I record to, my signal's pretty low.
Got it. So you have enough room to be able
Yeah,
to.
I mean, you want to have a lot of
Yeah.
headroom in mastering. Yeah. Are we missing awesome
Electronic sounds
questions that
audio.
are coming up?
I'm sorry. Say it again, John.
Are we missing awesome questions that are coming up?
No, but there was Electronic Sounds Audio made a statement about he said he takes away too much time in the setup of planning and programming.
Right. Right. Yeah, that was what I had to leave
Mm.
with the sequencers. And
Mm.
again, it's like we've all got different workflows. Like everybody makes such great music in such different ways, but yeah, I mean, that was my issue too, is that, I mean, maybe not the time thing, but it was like sucking the soul out of the fun that I was having doing it. It was like
Mm.
coming up with like, what do I want this to do next? Which is more like singer-songwriter sort of mentality, which again is fine. And I did that in bands where it's like, okay, I've got the part, no, no, now I want it to, yeah, play the one part and go back to the one part. And I've
Mm.
got an idea that sounds like this now, so I'm going to make that happen. That's great. In modular, I can't imagine doing that.
Mm.
It just doesn't, my brain just doesn't work like that.
Right. I can relate. Although I think in the world where I tend to be releasing my music, it's hard to be able to deviate from that a lot. I mean,
Sure.
especially if it's being for the dance floor, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Where
Yeah.
it's that bridge or core, or part A, part B sort of,
Hmm.
mentality or parts in the song, and it's just, and then live 2-track recording versus, a techno song that's perhaps like, I don't want to use the word overproduced, but produce with
Thickly produced. Yeah.
yes,
Sure.
using, a DAW. So it's interesting, but
Yeah.
I can relate to what you're saying, because there are times where I'm just like, I'm jamming and I got this and I'm like, this is my track, and I'm like, oh, now I got to track it out. And I went through that for a period of time, and I do still track stuff out, but I have to say everything that I've released lately has just been like, you know what? This is the 2-track recording, and I better get the mix right
Right.
here
Right.
in the modular setup with the mix and panning and all
Hmm.
that now. And
Which
it
is
is
a
really
great
difficult.
challenge.
Yeah.
That's a great challenge.
Because then you also learn too how to mix and play live,
Right.
like,
Right.
because you can't go back and pull down those highs or boost those
Right.
lows in the middle of a live, go back and be like, oh, let me start over,
That's
in a live
right. Yeah.
performance. So yeah, it does play to learning that for sure.
Yeah. I mean, you and I have Like we're not gonna go back to live feeling rusty. Like you and I have kept juicy this whole year.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would say juicy if I could say that sentence again.
We
If
have
I
our
could say that
stimulants
sentence
or whatever
again,
that
what
too.
word might I use? We've stayed yeah, juicy, man.
Yeah. Synth addict, I think. Pop up his comment for me, Willow, please. Yeah, the live jam mentality is always fun and makes you appreciate the stuff that works since it arose from happy accidents. Yes, that's very true. So I do, now that we're talking about live performances, and this is like a good way to segue into the show that you basically started doing, first in person, took it to online, Modular World. Let's talk about that.
What a great segue. It's almost like you planned that. That was brilliant.
Doing this,
yeah.
doing
So
this now, Johno.
what's that? What's that?
And I've been doing this for a little bit now.
I
feel
know,
like.
man. You and I are loosey goosey. Yeah. I do modular on the spot here in San Diego, as you know. And then we went dark in April. And I did one online. And it was Jim, it was Sequinox who said, afterwards, it was really fun. It was well attended. And I was like, God, that was sweet. And he goes, dude, you should do modular on the spot world. And I was, okay, shit. So we did one as modular on the spot world. And then I changed it just to modular world just so we could differentiate, for modular on the spot.
Right.
So, but coming from some of the spirit of modular on the spot, there's a lot of similarities. Any genre is welcome. There's no headliner, but the thing that Modular World became, or I mean, always was, but it, has really grown into is that, and we've talked about this, but all of these little bubbles of synth societies, us in SoCal, New York, Houston, Colorado, Pacific Northwest, San Francisco, Michigan, and then huge international scenes. And we all know each other. We're all cool. We're friendly. We hit the likes. But there wasn't a lot of real cross pollination. And you, my sister, started that with the SoCal Synth Festival.
The SoCal Synth Summit, right?
Yeah. And really kind of showed like kind of a standard, you know what I mean? So Modular World kind of grew out of that, and also for Modular on the Spot going dark here. So yeah, monthly, sometimes more than 1 month, shows of just international players, and every genre welcome. 4 or 5 performers like per show. Little live chat just like this after the performance. How'd you do your patch? How you doing out there in Norway? And then off to the next performer. So great show. Scene is really
fantastic show. I've met a lot
thanks.
of people, see a lot of really, really good performances, and people getting creative with their performance and video. Will just popped up your Patreon. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the Patreon, the Modular World Patreon?
Thanks. There's 2 tiers. The highest tier is $5, and you get
coffee, people.
Well, the $5 tier gets you downloads of every show, audio, and those have been like extremely potent shows for like 14 shows. Like everyone has just been like, just amazing performances. People are just so wickedly talented in our whole planet, and it's just, it's been great to to get to know these people and to make these friendships, because I mean that and people in the chat who know me know that it's got to be a real connection and a real friendship, and again, like past like likes on social and just like great set bro sort of stuff. Like I want to know you. I want to have the 2-hour Zoom chat with you,
supporting and being part of the synth fam, and all that
stuff. It's huge. I mean, this is the community
really
that's like
the boundary. I mean, I feel like you know, when you asked me to play, I was like, I got to bring it, you know, so
Fucking A, you got to bring
find
it.
something different, you know, and I'm sure that I'm not
Yes.
the only one who feels that way.
Yeah, yeah. No,
So
it's just
yeah.
amazing, really.
So
It's like
like we're coming around now to this anniversary, you know, Modular World, these
another great segue. Just a solid, solid segue.
I mean, tell us about it.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
excited. I've been like sitting on that. I was sitting on that for a while. Like, I mean, not just tonight, but just, you know, your whole
Yeah, because you knew I
gearing,
was building it. Yeah, yeah,
gearing and like,
yeah.
yeah.
So, Itai, who's been just such a great confidant and just consultant, friend, advisor,
Mm.
he's like, "What are you gonna do for Modular World anniversary?" Okay. So 24-hour stream was come up. Was one of the ideas, and May 8 and 9, we're doing the anniversary show with 130 people from 24 different countries. It's going to be a 24-hour stream, and we'll do it in Modular World format, where we'll, same thing. Do the
Yep.
performance, then join by video chat. That'll
I
help me
want
stay
everybody
up.
pause right there because I want everybody to know that you're going to chat with everybody that assume, you know, obviously they're
Well, everybody who can.
available
Right,
and to chat,
right,
but the
right,
point is you are going to be speaking with everyone. It's not just,
right.
you know, cycle video. So
Yeah, it's not a
yeah,
canned show,
yeah,
right? I mean, it will be live, and that's going to help me stay awake too, you
yeah.
know. But I mean, maybe out of 130 people, maybe, I mean, even if half of those people showed up for the live chat, which I'm sure, more than half will, that'll be great, because you'll be able to see all over the world and people and showing up for their own slot. It'll be great.
I'm really looking forward to it. It's like all of it. Seeing you have to tape your eyelids open, being a part of it.
Yeah, show up and watch me like
Watching everybody
evolve.
play, the chat, like chatting with everybody, because really it is like coming full circle, you know. It's like
Right.
I'm glad you're doing it. I first I thought you were a
Thanks.
little nuts. I mean, I still think you do.
It
Like,
still is
I
not.
mean, that's a
Yeah.
lot of time, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm glad you're doing it. You know, it's going to be fun, and I'm looking forward to it. While we're talking about May and the Modular World anniversary, I do want to throw out, just to kind of let everybody know, that another synth summit is in the works, and it is being planned. We have panels again.
SoCal's bringing it
Yep,
again.
we're going to be doing it, and just mark your calendars. It's the weekend of May 21st through the 23rd. So again, May 21st through the 23rd for Synth Summit. Modular World Anniversary is starting on May 8th at noon
Noon
Pacific
Pacific. Yeah.
and ending the 10th. I'm just kidding.
The
No,
9th.
ending the 9th.
Well, I mean, it's for sure going to be more than 24 hours, just
Yeah,
because of the
yeah.
amount of videos and talking with people. So I would say we'll probably get up on 30 hours.
It's going to be fun. Yeah.
Slim Pickens asked a question. How are
Oh,
we
yeah.
able to stream the performances in decent quality? So the show is live, but the
Mm-hmm.
performances are pre-recorded, and that's the only way to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I mean, it's like the only way to do it with 5 performers on a regular show. I'm not going to have like a great connection from you here in SoCal, but shitty connection from somebody in, St. Petersburg, Russia, where, you know
Right.
what I mean? So that's the way which we do that. There's so much to live streaming, like right now we have a little cutout during a performance. None of us really care. But if it's like for a whole show and everybody's having problems with connecting and I'm trying to deal with everybody's bandwidth issues, that's not what I'm here to do.
Right. Yeah,
You
that's
know?
a lot. I mean, I think that's one thing that, aside from the anniversary shows, the Synth Summit coming around, that's one thing we've really learned, like through this process of wearing all
Yeah.
those hats, producing
Right.
shows, what to do live, what not to do, play live,
Right.
all
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a fun and interesting year, but definitely pre-recorded. Even Alpha Stare is like pre-recorded. Yeah.
Definitely.
And you
Definitely.
got and the Surging Mass, he gave us the correct, I believe it's exactly 36 hours, he said.
Fuck.
Yeah.
I really hope you're wrong, Jason. Just one thing just to circle back is that like this year has been like there have been some real connections that have been like
Mhm,
solidified, like the Colorado guys in the chat, like we
mhm,
knew them. We had worked with them. I knew them by name,
mhm,
but this year all the work and the coordinating shows and doing all this, man, it's like there's been
mhm.
some real friendships that have like solidified this year, and this show is it's kind of like a tribute basically to the scene,
Mhm.
like it's a bunch of really cool people who are just patient and giving and generous. Well, I guess giving and generous is kind of the same word, but like we have a really special scene,
Yes,
you know
I think
There's-
so
the
too. Like,
competition is not there. Humility. We're all trying to learn. We're all like beginners. Um, and some of us actually are beginners. But you know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of love.
yes.
So this show is kind of a big tribute to that.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, I mean, all of it. Like every society has been really stepping up and doing
Amazing.
different streams, different shows,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
doing online meetups. Like Colorado has been doing a lot of online meetups as well. And I believe frequent up in, please forgive me, up in Canada, the frequency
Frequency Freaks is
Freak
Toronto. Yeah. Yeah.
is Toronto, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, and yeah, so every global, and I
Totally.
yeah, and even some new people in the chat tonight. Slim Pickens, he's recently from a recent Discord and group that I joined with Analog Kitchen, and Analog Kitchen's
Mm-hmm.
way in Amsterdam. He's there and he focuses on playing live, but it's just again another community of just people nerding out and sharing music and tips and yeah, I think that's what really
Dutch
makes it a
Modular
year.
Fest.
Yeah,
You
all of
know,
it. So
Anna's work with Modular Moon. It doesn't. I mean, it does not end. They're everywhere.
yeah, so now I feel it's like we're getting to this place where we are, as we open up and are able to slowly have these social distance, you know, meetups or hangouts and things. And I really hope that we are all able to continue to stream on some capacity those events as well. You know what
Oh
I mean?
yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the relationships that have, started and
Mm.
have grown. I mean, there's no way that we could be like, well, that was fun, you
Right.
know, see you back on social with the likes, but we're gonna get back to. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I just, the culture has changed. I think too, with like the stigma of not wanting to watch live streams when I want to see you live. I don't want to watch a live stream. Now we
Mhm.
found out what we can actually achieve with, you know, basically like a borderless scene.
Right.
You
It's
know,
so true. It's so
this is
true.
rich. This is a really rich scene now.
Yes.
So
Because you'd been like maybe prior to, the pandemic and all of last year being more hyper focused on your area or where you're traveling to,
right,
you
right,
would have, missed everything in between,
totally missed
places.
opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, can you and I go
Mhm.
to Colorado for the weekend and play their show?
Mhm.
I'd love to, but I can't. And it's like now we can just like play wherever for whoever.
Right. And
We're
with
not going to
whatever.
just forget that.
Yeah.
I don't have to travel with shit. I can just do whatever I want. It's
Yeah.
awesome. You know.
Yeah. So I'm glad we're continuing on this quest of live stream shows, and I'm really looking forward to Modular World.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Like everybody does their shows differently, and there's a different kind of vibe and somewhat different audience and lots of
Mhm,
cross pollination, but also different. Everybody's
mhm.
show is a little different.
I'm really hoping that
Mhm.
even like Colorado, like I know you guys are out there listening in the chat too, that even if we don't have the Bandcamp Free Friday thing, that I hope they do their, we still do their the listening parties sometimes because they're
We
just
got to do something like that. Yeah,
yeah, they're
yeah.
just still they're just it's just fun anyway.
That's a great show.
Yeah. It's like
It's a great show.
yeah.
And I apologize for being like a total ass on their show every single month.
But it's like everybody's a little punchy and like we're
It's a
just
little
kind of
punchy.
cracking the whip at each other. Like
It's
that's
good.
part of that's that show, I feel like.
I know. I know. I can't help but feel partially
Exactly.
responsible.
Jeff Short, it's a shit show in the best way. That is exactly true.
Total shit show. I feel
Oh.
bad every time. It's like we have a blast, and I'm like, God, why did they invite me back? Because I just act like such an idiot.
Oh, geez.
It's like, how old is that guy? My God. He's
So
so immature.
I have one more question for you, Johno, before
Okay.
I know we're past the top of the hour. And again, everyone, I just want to check in with the chat, say thank you for tuning in. I'm so happy you guys are here and being a part of this and growing Faders Up. And if you have any additional questions, now's the time to pop them in the chat.
Here's a good one.
What do
Okay, so pallet case, like how big?
Yes,
Like, is it like a 62 or is it 84? Or can I have 104, please?
I'll let him take a moment to answer.
Like if it's
Synthetic,
62,
what's the HP size on the pallet?
and is it one row or two, or like give me some specifics here.
As we all pause and wait.
The power setup.
62 or larger, he said.
Well, or larger. Like how large?
How about 104? I'll call it. I'll put
Okay. One last question. Could you talk about your power setup?
Scene where you have to choose only a specific number of cables, but you can use 104 HP.
I think I like Nick's clarification better. 5 modules.
What do you say? Oh, 5?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's do Nick's little clarification. So like synth addict's question with Nick's sharpening.
Yes.
So Morphogene, Benjamin, FX Aid, Bitbox Micro. So I'm just gonna go all digital. Fuck it.
And one more.
And Ornament and Crime.
Oh. Interesting.
So I guess that everything will forever be clocked and live off Benjamin.
I think you should do your next patch with those 5 modules.
Well, no, yeah, that would work because modulation can come from OC. Any melodic stuff can come from OC. Morphogene is life, so there's that. I guess I would take micro over assimilator just for size. I mean, if I had size, I would take assimilator.
Yeah, you just answered Electronic Sound Audio question. He said Bitbox over assimilator, but you said for size.
Yeah, I mean, Bitbox over assimilator is obviously like a ridiculous. I mean, like assimilators like the Mercedes-Benz, and Bitbox is like a piece of garbage. But if it's down to size,
I wouldn't say it's a piece of garbage. Come on now.
Well, I mean, I love it and I won't sell it, but if you're comparing them, it's utter garbage operating system and poorly made and all that. But I mean, look, I like it for what it does and it's great. And for size, I'll always pick, micro over assimilator, but they're just different machines.
Yes. I'll say that. They are different.
They're totally different machines. And look, I mean, micro does stuff that assimilator just doesn't and never will. Right. Isn't like a firmware fix. Like there's a screen I can like analyze a waveform and move markers and see it. I mean, that's huge. Or like you can make like one of the inputs be clock.
Right.
Sorry.
I'm saying you could save different projects, and as you said, like
it's huge.
Do something different within each. Yeah.
Like beat syncing. Like why can't I? Like this would be a reasonable firmware for a simulator is with all that fucking CV, like I can't make one of those be a clock in.
Oh yeah.
Why? Whereas Bitbox Micro, you make one of those be a clock, you drop any loop in, and you can have it beat sync. You can dump your BPM.
Huge, like not. I mean, being able to time stretch.
That's huge.
Not change the pitch. I mean, that's
huge.
Yeah, that's huge.
That's really big, and that was
Yeah.
one of the things. And then multi-sampling. I mean, I think it's pathetic that Bitbox Micro only does multi-sampling over, like over MIDI. I can't get any, like polyphony over gates and CVs. It's got to be MIDI. I think that's pathetic. But it does multi-sampling.
Mm.
Like Assimilator doesn't do that. So there's huge things that Micro does that's awesome. But just the rock solid OS, the Mercedes-Benz experience on, assimilators, there's just nothing like it.
Right, right.
But
Yeah, I do love the assimilator.
There's no perfect module, I asked for 5 modules and it got buried. Sorry, synth addict. Rasa makes great stuff, but assimilator yeah, I mean, assimilator is wonderful, but it's not perfect. Nick's right.
I have it in my performance case, and it does a lot of heavy lifting in the case for sure. So
Sleepy Vions with the power. Again, your producer's just killing it, just catching all the questions. Thank you. So the power system, meaning the big system, it's all Trogatronic. And you use that same power, and Nick used that same power.
Yep. My big home case, Trovatronic.
Brilliant.
Yep.
Brilliant. Yeah. Affordable and just like completely solid. I've just rocked the shit out of it. And, it's so overpowered that I never have to think about, I never have to do the math on like, can I put this in? Do I have like enough power left? This is like 20 amp. It's like ridiculous. I'm not even using half of it and it's full. So, yeah.
I agree. I'm with you on that, Trogatronics.
Yeah, Trogatronics, amazing. And I'm sorry, Sleepy Vion says specifically for outdoor sportable use. Shut up. Sorry. The outdoor one is it's made by Rav Power, and you can get it on Amazon. And it's
Racer. Thank you for the recommendation, by the way. I got it for her. She took it on her analog moon mission.
So good.
We're in the Space Racer t-shirt tonight. But yep. I don't think she even, I have to confirm, and maybe she can confirm because I know she's in the chat. Did you have to even charge it once on the trip? I don't.
So good. It's amazing.
Before she left, and then I don't think she had to charge it again.
Yeah. I was shocked because its max power is 100 watts. No, I'm sorry. The regular power is 100 watts, but the max power is 150, right? And the IntelliGel 7U uses 90.
She said
so.
No. She didn't charge it. She only charged it once, and she confirmed. Yeah, so she didn't charge it again while she was there. And she took the same case as you, the 7U.
Yeah. So I was thinking that it would, with that power rating versus what the 7U uses, I thought it'd be pretty tight. Like maybe I could get 40 minutes out of it or something like that.
Right.
And I tested it down on the kitchen table. Like, let's just leave it on and just see, and it was like 3 hours on. And I looked at the little power bar because there's 8 little blips that show, like how many you've used, little bars. And after 3 hours or something, I'd used 2 out of the 8 bars.
Yeah.
So, I mean, come on. That thing's awesome. And, moving forward, playing out in funky clubs with shitty power situations, and you show up and here's no, not even backup. I would just use that. Like, why would I even show up and plug into your shitty power strip? And hope your power doesn't dip or do something funny during the set. I'm just going to be like, I'm good. I've got my own power.
Nice.
I'm going to do that. Do you experiment with EEG or Myo sensor modules and theremin stuff? I don't know what those others are, but I do have the theremin module from Error Instruments.
You have a lot of Error Instruments modules.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Paul Toss. Everything he makes is a complete train wreck, and I just love it. It's all just so
like
funky and
chaos and like
it's just broken and funky and weird and like we're used to getting modules that have really tight knobs and like they feel good and there's a nice torque on them and they're well made and like his stuff is just so insane. I love the whole like delivery, really. Like knobs that you accidentally bump and now it sounds just completely wrong and weird. This isn't even turning it. This isn't even turning it. I just touch it and it sounds different,
right.
It was wonderful.
Very cool.
But what is the EEG or the myosensor? Like I've got a
You're gonna go look it up after the show.
I don't know what that is. That sounds great. I've got I have this. I've got the Soma Ether, the electromagnetic microphone thing, which is so rad.
Yeah,
But I don't know what those others are.
she took that to her moon mission as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This thing's great. It's
Yeah.
so fun.
She collected a ton of samples. Some
Soma
really
Labs
good
Ether.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Space Racer's killing it on those moon missions, man.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, the first one, Mars, the sample pack, and then now she did a collection of sounds for the moon. So I'm sure we'll be chopping those up and putting those out too.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. We're talking about like Instruo's, Scion, that one with the little clips.
Oh, okay.
The clip to like living things like plants or like that guy Noah Kalos doing those mushroom videos.
Mm-hmm.
Like the sensors and stuff.
Gotcha.
So neat. Yeah, really, really neat. I'd love to play with that. The Instrio Scion. Really neat.
Yeah.
Have you seen that guy with the mushrooms?
Well, and the food? It just in general, where they clip it to the food? Is that what you're referring to?
Well, there's a guy specifically, Noah Kalos, Kahlos, Noah Kalos.
No. But I've seen people where they use the like various like sensors where they clip it to various like chunks.
Like Sonya has one.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
But that's going through this other like outboard device thing.
Like
this is like a module,
oh, okay.
which Instruo makes, and it's got these little tens units. And this guy like grows mushrooms and breeds mushrooms, and he clips them on it, and they're just outputting just insane CV. Crazy. And it's like mushroom plays modular synth is one of his videos. There's like over 1 million views, and he's got all the CV plugged into all kinds of modulation and madness, and it's just here it goes.
I'll have to check it out.
It's like amazing. Yeah, super nice guy. We had a little chitty chat.
Are you gonna have him on Modular World anytime soon? Or?
Yeah, we talked about it and he was cool with it, and we just haven't spoken since. But I mean, it'll happen.
Cool. Well, all right.
There's so many people out there doing such.
I know, right? I just want to check in with the chat and basically, I think, well, I just want to thank everyone for being here, and I want to thank you for coming on to Faders Up, and just also let everyone know, I think I am, in terms of the season, I'm going to take a break with Faders Up and then come back with a new season.
This is the season finale?
Yes, this is
This is kind of special.
This is the special one.
Ah, yeah. Sweet.
Yeah. But I'll be back probably.
This has been a great show. Really great show.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Come on.
You're the best.
It was a must.
You're the best.
Thank you. Yeah. But yep, nope. And yeah, I'll be back in the early fall, and I already have some guests for that too. And so Faders Up will continue on for season 2. So I'm pretty excited. But I am definitely excited about what we have in store for May, which is the Modular World anniversary party. Woo! Everyone, make sure you mark your calendars. Woo! May 8th through 9th. And the SoCal Synth Summit. We're teaming up with Colorado this year. And it is the weekend of May 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. So Friday through Sunday. We have tons of panels, performances. And yep, I'm Lots of good stuff coming at you. So
Can't stop, won't stop.
nope. All right. Do you have any last thing you want to say, Johno, before we wrap it up?
Yeah, you covered it. I mean, links to Modular World are down below. Let me actually let me double check that. This isn't your show, Johno. You actually didn't build the
They will
description.
be. I'm pretty sure
There it is. Yeah.
there, but I will double
So
check. Just
it's
as a
there.
reminder, I will be releasing your performance on the channel
Sweet.
tomorrow. So not only can you go back and rewatch the interview, but if you want to just tune in and click and watch the performance, that'll be up as well. And yeah,
Thanks for having me, man.
here. I really appreciate it. Nice.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for everybody watching, man.
Yes, thank you. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe.
Subscribe to the channel.
When
Yep.
more of these shows are coming up.
Yep.
And thank you for all your support. And yeah, with that, let's close it out, Willow.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.